We're going to focus on listening deeply in ourselves so that we can get through muddiness, right? Because sometimes in order to move forward, you've got to really listen deep inside yourself to know what to do. So Zoe is going to lead us off with a song called You've Got to Do. Let's rise up in body or spirit. You ready?
Oh yeah. You gotta do what the Spirit says do. You gotta do what the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Can anyone think of something we could do? Yeah? Sing, absolutely. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 We've got another one. Yeah.
Grow.
Grow. I love that.
All right, let's
All right,
do
here we go. You gotta grow when the Spirit says grow. Grow when the Spirit says grow. When the Spirit says grow, you gotta grow, Lord. You gotta grow when the Spirit says grow. 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 One more. Flow. Oh,
Wow.
very nice. All right. Here we go. You gotta flow when the Spirit says flow. Flow when the Spirit says flow. When the Spirit says flow, you gotta flow, Lord. You gotta flow when the Spirit says flow. 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 Spirit says flow.
Thank you, Zoe. Let's have a seat. Is there a child play on that? Expedite us. So if you're new with us today, the chalice is a symbol of our faith, and we light it every week.
This is grace.
And these are the words that our chalice likes. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community right here to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. And now we say it in ASL. Yeah, it's from downstairs. Do you know they designed this building so that we could hear each other? It's kind of cool. So that when all the kids and youth are around the sanctuary, that the adults would hear all our sounds and that we could hear their sounds. It's kind of cool. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start with our mindfulness practice today. And because we're talking about deeply listening, I'm going to ask you first to imagine that you're an animal. We're going to do some movement with that. But then I want you to deeply listen to something that you feel connected to in nature. Nothing at all. Something in nature that you either love, or you think is beautiful, or you just feel very connected to. Okay? So first we're going to do, let's get up and do some breathing with,
A dolphin.
let's do something that we might see in the next month, 2, 3 months, a butterfly. So breathing in, and breathing out, and breathing in, and breathing out. And one more time, breathing in, and breathing out. So nice. And how about our jellyfish? Aquatic jellyfish. Remember jellyfish? Breathing in. And then they go up like this. Whew. And then they go down. That's so good. Anybody want to offer one? Sarah.
What are we offering?
Something in nature that we could become. We could
Rain.
listen. What?
Rain.
Rain. Okay. Breathing in. Like a cloud. I'm breathing out. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. One more time. Breathing in. I'm breathing out. Nice. And this time I want you to do your own. So Eva, if you have one, you're going to do it yourself. So I'm going to do the thing that I feel connected to, and you do the thing you feel connected to. Okay, ready? Here we go. Breathing in. And breathing out.
But what if we don't know how to breathe?
Oh, you can just do your own breathing. Make it up. Breathing out. Breathing in.
That's a butterfly.
Could be. Could be any number of things. Okay, back to center. Thank you. Have a seat. So, we have a couple of special guests with us today, Jamie and Al. Can you guys come up? So for a moment of inquiry today, come right up here. For a moment of inquiry today, Jamie and Al are part of our youth group, right? They're ninth graders, and they wanted to ask you a question about deeply listening to yourself.
Okay.
What do you think that question is? Yeah.
How can you tell what somebody's gender is?
How can you tell what somebody's gender is? Does everybody know what gender is?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. How can you tell what somebody's gender is? Elliot has an answer.
What do you think?
No? Maybe we could talk amongst ourselves. So Zoe, maybe you could talk to these 3 people over here, and maybe Jen, you could talk to this group, and maybe Lisa, you could talk to them, and see, let's figure this out. How is it that we could, how can you tell about somebody's gender? Anybody got any ideas?
Maybe how they act.
So a gender is like a way somebody expresses themselves. And it's kind of like a spectrum. So like my pronouns are she, her, and I'm a girl. That's my gender. So a lot of times if it's a big spectrum, you can't always tell just by looking at somebody. Or you might want to
I feel like a boy.
Usually is the right word.
I feel like
But it's usual. You said usual. Good.
Yeah, sometimes, but there's more than just those 2. Yeah, that's a good
If I
point.
want.
Sometimes you can't just
Even
tell
if I was
somebody's
born a
foot.
girl.
How can you there's more than just 2 genders there.
All right. So let's come back together now that we've gotten our ideas together with each other. Let's see. Jeannie's going to ask you a question related to
So before you say what you think
what do you think gender, like, how do you tell? I want to ask, what do you think mine is? And I will not be offended if you get it wrong. I will not care. It's fine. What do you think, Eva?
I don't know.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah.
Grace.
Girl?
Marianne.
It's impossible unless you tell us.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
That's
Sarah.
actually like spot on. That's,
It is impossible unless you tell us. What were you going to say, Parker?
This is probably a trick question, so I'm gonna say boy.
Ah. Interesting.
okay. Well, I'm actually non-binary, so I'm neither. So it kind of was a trick question, but it's still there. You still might know. So I don't really identify with either a boy or a girl. I was born a girl. I tried being a boy for a little while, and that didn't really work out. I wasn't feeling it, so I feel like I'm more in the middle.
Mhm. So Jamie said that at birth they assigned her the gender, right, which would have been
I am
Female.
a female at birth.
female at birth, right? But gender is something that when you listen deeply inside yourself, you come to understand. It's not something somebody can say, Jamie is this or that to Jamie. Jamie has to understand and listen. And sometimes it's not always clear that it's the same thing someone else, even our parents, would tell us. Right, Al?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, for me, I was also assigned female at birth. And I seemed to fit that pretty well for the majority of my childhood. You know, I was very stereotypically girly. I liked pink frilly things. But, you know, it doesn't really matter what stereotypes you fall into. Like, that doesn't really affect what your gender actually is. And as I got a little older, around the time I hit puberty, so around like 12, you know, I realized that while I was a girl sometimes, I was not a girl all of the time. I'm gender fluid, so my gender changes. Typically, it's more towards non-binary and often more towards male. I'm rarely a girl, but I am sometimes. And I mostly use they, them, or he, him pronouns.
Uh-huh. So, any questions that you have for Al or Jamie?
We will answer anything.
Yeah, so good.
Anything at all.
Because they were once kids just like you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have curious answers. So, yeah, Parker.
You said we could ask any questions, so what is pi squared?
Oh, yeah, let's stay on the topic.
I skipped 6th grade math.
Okay. Any other questions about gender? So what did we learn from this? That, oh yeah, Eva.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
You don't think you know, you forgot your question. Okay, yeah, Grace, do you have a question?
Why can't you tell by how they speak and act and stuff?
Well,
Yeah,
a good example of that is from the way that I speak, you probably think I'm a girl, right? Because like, biologically I am female, but that's not my gender. My actual gender, your actual gender is something that you can only tell from the way that you feel about yourself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it does not matter what somebody looks like, what they sound like. Gender is only something that they know in their mind.
Uh-huh.
So like, a better question to ask than like, what's your gender is, what are your pronouns?
Oh,
Because you're
Funny you
probably
should say
not gonna use your gender in everyday conversation,
Right,
but your pronouns are.
right, and pronouns don't necessarily equal gender.
yeah, so what pins would you pick if you had to pick? Would you pick any of these?
I would pick they, them.
They, them?
Yeah.
I think I got a they, them. I got a they, them. What would you pick, Jane?
Both he, him, and they, them.
Yeah, so here's a he, him. And I think I might have another they, them in here. If I don't, I have another kind that has, oh, so that would be both. So you might use more than one set of gender terms.
Yeah.
He, him, she, her, they, them, there's a bunch of them. Anyway, So it's a lot to think about, but it helps us remember that listening inside ourselves can start at a very young age. And gender is one thing we have to listen inside ourselves about. Even when it's muddy. Was it always clear to you that this is the way it is?
Nope.
No.
Although there were some signs that I noticed when I was younger. For example, apparently when I was 4, I told my mom that I wanted to be a boy. But
Oh.
she assumed that I just wanted to play in the mud and stuff that typically, societally girls weren't allowed to do.
Yeah,
So.
I got you. So there might have been feelings when you were very young.
Mhm.
Yes, cool. What's on your shirt? Can you tell us?
This is
Our chalice.
Mhm.
And what does the
Colors.
colors mean?
are the trans pride flag.
Huh? So that means that for people whose their bodies and their gender sense is different in many different ways. It doesn't have to be one way or another, but it could be your body, if you were assigned female at birth, is different than what you understand your gender to be. So that means that as Unitarian Universalists, we actually affirm all the different ways people understand their bodies and their gender.
Do you have a question?
It's pretty amazing.
Figuring stuff out.
I know, right?
Yeah,
they're
it can be confusing,
It can be
especially
confusing.
if you have been taught other stuff.
I wish you were.
Yeah.
Also, another thing, gender and pronouns do not necessarily have to connect.
Yeah. that makes it
Somebody can
even more tricky.
be like, let's say they're a trans male, and they might just use they, them pronouns. That is
Yeah.
fine. They do not have to use he, him pronouns.
Uh-huh. Wow, it's very complex.
It looked like you had a question.
Yeah, what is it?
Well, there's another thing too. It doesn't matter if like a sport, like if you
Oh,
like ballet, that doesn't,
yeah.
if you have long hair, that doesn't really mean you're a girl. You can also be a boy. You can also be both.
That's right, thank you so much. Thanks for our guests for coming in. Can we thank them and say thank you? They've got to go to their group today, they've got other things we want to learn. Yeah,
When you get done that,
it's coming up after our story. All right, thanks you both for coming.
Thanks for listening, guys.
See you later. We've got something in store for you at the end that's related to what Jamie and Elle were able to teach us today. But first, our story. Are you ready? Our story, oh, what? Oh, Daxton, you already lit the chalice. Is there somebody who wants to be our main character? Juliana. Jules, you ready? You're going to pretend this is a shovel, not a rake, okay? Are you ready? So once there was a man. This is a story from Hinduism, and I have some other people in the story, so you'll come in later. This is a story from Hinduism. Once there was a man who wanted to dig a well on his property because he was lacking water. So he started to dig. And he dug a hole 10 feet deep, the size of his hut, only in the opposite direction. And so it was that one of his neighbors came by. And he said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
she should have fallen
You
into
can
it.
ask her.
What are you doing?
I'm digging a well.
I'm digging a
I'm
well.
trying to find some water on my property.
I'm trying to find some water on my property.
Oh, I wish I'd come by sooner.
Oh, it was like my best.
I would tell you that you actually have to dig right there, I know for a fact. You'll have a much better look down here. And so it was that the person who was digging the well listened to the neighbor. Thank you, neighbor. You can go have a seat. And started to dig there. Now, the man kept digging and digging and digging. And then soon enough, he had a 20-foot hole, 20 feet deep. Still no water.
That's like 2 of my dad. 3 of my dad.
And so it was someone else came by along the road and saw that he was sweating like mad. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm digging a well.
I'm digging a well.
I started over there, but I'm here now, and I've dug 20 feet, and I still can't find anything.
I started over there, but now I'm over here, and I've dug 20 feet, and I still can't find anything.
Oh, that's because you're digging in the wrong spot.